is
It was a
beautiful.
nice ride in on the motorcycle this morning.
I was thinking it was probably chilly. You
Well,
weren't a
Sue
little,
said, Sue's like, you're going to be too cold, and I was perfectly content.
You just had Steppenwolf in your head the
'cause it
whole
was-
way, didn't you?
what, 47 degrees this morning when you were rolling in,
It was,
when
It's
I was
gonna be
walking the dog.
Yeah, it's going to be
But it was-
41 the next couple days for the low. So.
Yeah.
yeah, as long as it's not raining, I'm fine.
Well-
you know, I don't care to be wet when I ride.
You have 3 days of rain coming up.
I know. So
Yeah.
the bike will be in the garage, and
And you'll be back in the truck.
Yeah, by the
there
way,
we are, live. Good job.
Yay.
Sue said she's concerned about dropping stuff off on your porch on Sunday because of rain.
Well, that's a good concern. But if you look at the front porch, now not the porch that we usually go in and out of that's off the driveway, but the Pennsylvania Avenue porch has is
Pretty
kind of
good
like a
overhang.
zigzag.
Yeah.
There's a door that we don't use. I set up a plywood table on sawhorses.
Okay.
And that's where all the donations are going to go, back in that corner. In the 21 years I've lived there, never has rain ever gotten into that corner. Even the roof doesn't leak there, and that's
That's a miracle in and of itself.
that's a miracle in and of itself. So yeah, back in that corner, I'm gonna probably move our porch swing off to just give some a little bit more room. But the rain never comes in that direction. Now watch, we'll have some sort of
Well, we can
It'll be
always
like the other
tornado
night.
or
It'll be
monsoon.
like-
Even the other night, we were standing out there and nothing gets, because the
Yeah.
rain doesn't come from that direction.
Well,
It
they
comes,
said they confirmed
the other way.
this morning that a tornado did touch down off Old Annapolis,
yikes.
and like 100 trees were either.
There was like a trail of
Yep.
trees.
And I saw some down in
We
the
have a lot
in the
more
gully.
tornadoes in this area than we've had
ever.
ever.
Yeah,
That's kind of creepy.
it was pretty crazy though the other night. But I just,
Yeah.
I took my chair and was sitting out on the sidewalk in the front of the house, and the dog was out laying and normally she's freaked out by storms, but she was just like, yeah, this is okay, Daddy, we're good.
Yeah, as soon as the phone beeps, it's basement time.
Yeah, see,
Well, how many tornado areas have
Well,
you been
true.
through after the fact? Because if you see what they do, you'll be like,
Oh my
maybe I
gosh.
will go downstairs now.
well, that's
Yeah.
kind of what I was looking for. I was sitting outside watching the difference between the light sky and the dark sky, and watching the clouds blowing. And I was
The
waiting
coloring.
for this. I was waiting for this, and then the green sky, and it
But
never
sometimes they
happened.
just drop out, just
Yeah.
straight down, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either. I've never, well, that's not true. That one mission trip we had to South Dakota, we were all, there was a tornado while we
Yeah.
were there. And then we went to West Liberty, Kentucky for that rebuilding, but
and they're in an area where
that was
they're
a
in a
valley.
valley.
Tornado
It
out
was
there.
no,
like-
not where they are in Kentucky. They're in a
In
valley,
Kentucky,
and it's
they're-
one of those areas where a tornado is never going to hit here because they
Yep.
skip
It's
over
down,
this, they go
yeah.
around, and they got wiped.
Yep.
Wow.
It was, that's always what I think about when we have the tornado warning, but I'm not really sure if the parsonage basement is where I want to go, to be honest. My dog won't go down those steps anyway.
Right.
So if you need to look for us, we'll probably be in this church basement
In the church basement.
because he will go down those steps. But, just in case of complete
Yeah. Well, that's the same
disaster.
thing. I got to basically drag the dog down the stairs to get in the basement in our
Yeah.
house. She never
I
went.
mean,
never.
we'd probably have to carry him, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Dogs are the best.
Dogs are the best.
They are the best.
The chicks we were just leaving outside in the brooder. Jay's like, "Do you want to bring them in?" And I was like, "Yeah, no, they're huge
They
and
make
smelly
more.
now." And
Yeah.
so
we,
we're gonna leave them out on the porch.
when can they be a little bit bigger so we can cook them up?
Well, no, they're layers, not eaters. They're not-
Yet when they
yeah.
stop laying, that's when
we
they
do
become
have-
eaters.
We do have one rooster. I'm pretty sure Priest is a rooster, but out of I think only have one. So.
Are they all named?
I knew them all when they had different markings, but it's a little hard now. The markings on their beak has changed. So I really only know Phoebe because she's the only one that comes up to me without me forcing her to.
It's not sweet and sour,
Forced
teriyaki,
love.
buffalo.
No, it's not sweet and sour teriyaki. No, we've got Priest and Phoebe for sure. That's all I got so far. You're terrible. Anywho, what announcements do we have?
Well, let's see.
It's good to have
Oh.
3 people.
It is good to have 3 people because we didn't have.
Yeah, our mojo was off a
It
hair
was
last week.
a little bit. we didn't have Mom
You
here
were
to
sitting
keep
on the
us in
wrong
line.
side, and
Yeah, the dynamic was a little off.
well, let's see. It appears you are a little washed out on the screen there, Pastor Phil. The sun from
Oh,
I don't know if you
It's
can
your
change the
aura.
lighting or not.
probably not.
It's just very sunny. We're gonna have to wait till the sun moves
Yeah.
off the stained glass window.
Right.
And
One of these days we'll have
Maybe.
a set, and we'll just sit in front of the set.
we'll just green screen it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, guys. He's there though, we promise. He's really there. You can hear us though, right? That's
That
the
is
important
Yeah,
thing.
that's the big thing.
I did watch the beginning and I was like, you can't really hear Russ. I put my earbuds in, and then somebody said about the
Roscoe
mic,
used
and I was
Belinda's
like,
mic.
oh, okay.
And then I didn't turn
Now we
Belinda's
can
mic
hear.
on.
They missed out on all that important information.
Well, you could hear it. It was just very faint, so I guess it was picking it up on.
Yeah, because I
His
didn't
mic.
turn that one on because I, figured he was going to be in his usual spot. And
But see, this way he could talk with his hands.
yeah,
And I was told that I'm not good with keeping the mic in front of my mouth all the time, so
Oh,
I was like, I'll
that's
try
why.
stationary.
That's why they gave me this.
and I was having a hard time because I couldn't keep up with. I would see the messages flash
don't
up,
stay
and then
on.
they don't stay on. So
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
It's gone. It's gone. Yeah. So volume is good, and it's just the sun shining on you. So
Hey, you
we're
know.
all good.
That halo over top of me.
Oh gosh. Started at his what was
At
that?
the ordination.
Ordination. There. I was going to say inauguration. That's the wrong thing.
My coronation.
Your coronation.
So,
Ordination. Yeah. Announcements.
So last Sunday, we approved some expenditures for the church.
Awesome.
We approved the lighting changes that are going to take place here in the sanctuary, and
So
and
maybe we'll
maybe we'll be
fix
able to
that.
fix that. We approved the expenditure to improve our sound, so hopefully that will also be an improvement. And we
just
also
in time for the summer break. No.
Yes.
yeah, right in time for summer break. We also approved an additional expenditure for some safety upgrades
Excellent.
for here at the church. So that was, and I really appreciate everybody coming in person as well as checking in online. So we had more than enough for a quorum, and
Awesome.
very much appreciated.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah,
I missed that, so I need a summary.
yeah. There you go.
Check,
you got
check,
it.
check.
Check,
Yep.
check, check.
Wonderful.
You got it. Let's see, what's this Sunday, Mother's Day?
Mother's Day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't forget your moms.
Don't
Don't
forget
forget
the
Mom.
moms.
We also have a couple, probably, I don't know, 7 or 8 maybe, strawberry shortcake mixes left
Okay.
that we would like for people to pick up and take home. And Betsy's asking that they be back here at church, all baked and beautiful by Thursday.
The 13th. Thursday the 13th.
Yes,
Yep.
Thursday the 13th. There's a pan and there's mix, so all you have to do is add whatever, water
Skill.
and
Eggs, water,
eggs.
oil usually.
Yeah, that's it.
And heat. Don't forget
And
the
heat.
heat.
And heat,
You gotta turn on the
yes.
oven. Yep.
And heat.
Even I am going to try my hand at making 1 or 2 of them, so we'll see how that goes.
The good thing is they cover them with ice cream and strawberries. So
Yeah, so no one's
So
gonna
it's-
taste it
as long as
anyway.
it's mixed up well. The key is actually mixing it with the mixer, whatever, not a blender, for 2 minutes. It says on the box, and everybody always cuts that short.
What if you don't have a mixer?
You don't have a hand mixer?
I have my hand mixer.
well, you got 2
have-
minutes of fun in your future.
Yeah, then keep going, because you want the air to the eggs to kind of get more air in them,
Fluff it
to
up.
make it fluffy.
I have a mixer. I just don't know if all the parts are with it. So
Oh,
Well, there's
We-
only three
I-
parts
I've-
you need.
I've been trying to, talk my wife into baking, but to no avail.
oh, well, you could always pick up an easy hand mixer. I've got a Pillsbury one
They're
that's
about $7.
25 years old. Yep, $7 from, well, I think I got mine from Ames, but it was,
That one has been around a while.
One?
yeah, you could do that also, but 2 minutes.
Yeah.
2
okay.
minutes. You gotta make sure you get enough air in the eggs and stuff. Yeah.
And put it next to your pie on your windowsill that you have cooling.
Right. So
Mhm.
You're gonna go super old school.
While you're
so
you're
Yogi and
hanging
Boo Boo
out
can
your
come by and snatch it off my window.
hanging out your laundry.
Let's see.
Oh goodness.
So then,
And there's also some sign-ups I did see for Strawberry Festival. We definitely need some cleanup and some setup crew.
yes.
Not to diminish anyone, but we've got like Betsy, Marie, and April as setting up all the tables and the tents.
Yeah, that's.
Come on, we can do better.
We can do better.
We can do better than that, right?
And this is really all a part of us trying to, not only get back together as a congregation, but also how do we as the congregation show ourselves and be ourselves and witness to God in the world and in our community. So it's not going to take much effort. So if you can come out and help us for 15, 20, 30 minutes, an hour, that would be awesome.
It's not a lot of stuff either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This setup is not as complicated as previous years because
because we're
we've toned
kinda
it way
scaling it
back. But those tents, some of the pop-ups are easy enough, but it's way easier with 3 or 4 people than it is with one that has to keep walking around and pulling
Right.
the legs out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so if you can do
little
that.
help. 8 o'clock, I think, on the 15th
On the
is
15th.
when they're starting setup.
Yep.
So
And then we'll have, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, the yard sale will be on the 15th as well.
yep, that's actually we're setting up for that on the Friday before the 14th, probably all day, depending on how much donations we have. It pretty much takes us all day to set up a yard sale.
We got a lot of treasures
When
too.
we're inside, we have tons of treasures. We may or may not have a preview sale Friday evening because we might not have enough space for everything.
Right.
We'll see how the weather goes. I'll make that call next week. But we'll be running the sale itself from 8 to 3 on Saturday.
8 to 3 on Saturday.
And then hopefully all of our treasures will find new homes. If not,
Since you cleaned out all that stuff, you need
Purple.
new stuff to fill the space back in.
yeah. And, deeply discounted. Deeply. I'm
Make
thinking
an
of
offer.
I'm thinking a quarter sale would even be cool, but I think is there still a change shortage in the U.S.? I don't know. So
I have a lot of change.
We aren't taking Bitcoin yet.
we're
So
not
no
taking
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin. I don't have,
I
I'm
still
not
don't
going to do
understand
PayPal.
it, but
It's all magic.
So
That's,
then-
another social statement entirely.
yeah, it is. So then on the 21st, we have the blood drive.
Yep, we do.
That's scheduled to go ahead, and we'll do that from 10 to 4.
Mm-hmm.
So sign up for your appointment to come in and save 3 lives.
You can click on the banner on the webpage, our
Yep.
website. When the scrolling banner at the top gets to the Red Cross, just click on that one and it'll take you directly to the sign up. Or you can look back at our previous posts. We've had a couple. There'll be some more this week as well, or next week.
Yeah, and the
This
same
week's running out.
same thing with the Weekly Wednesday. Those little tabs, the little boxes on the Weekly Wednesday, if you just click on those, that'll take you to the different things that it's advertising, so you can get in there too.
Yep, it's super simple.
Yep. And then the last thing I think I have is that on the 23rd, we're going to have outside worship, weather
Cool.
permitting. It's going to be service of the word, where well,
No
not really
music.
service of the word, no music. So there will be
Spoken
communion
service.
though, because normally service of the word means no communion. But
Ah.
we are going to have communion outside, weather permitting. So that's going to happen the 4th Sunday of every month, weather permitting. So probably
probably
through
make a note
September,
on that.
October-ish, depending.
Somebody on the website and Facebook page should probably advertise
So you
that.
might want to, but that's okay.
You still got 2 weeks. You're
You've
good.
been preoccupied.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think that's all I
Note to
have.
self. I have been gone for forever, it seems, even though
Yeah.
it was only 8 days. I don't have
Russ?
any announcements, really.
I have no idea. Where am I?
Where am I? What day is it? It's Thursday, and it's noon, so we're gathered at the table.
So we're gathered at the table, and we're continuing our discussion on the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America's social statement on healthcare. And Russ and I, not so deftly last week, started it off with an introduction.
Did a great job.
Well, we try to be humble.
You did a great job. You did a great job.
And I think really the coming out of the biblical sense of it, out of 1 Thessalonians, our spirit and soul and body are kept sound and blameless. So that's, obviously, sin pervades our lives, and we're having difficulties in doing different things. And as I mentioned myself, I struggle with this myself, trying to maintain a healthy lifestyle, trying to do better. And fortunately this week I started back on my walks and getting about 5.5 miles in, plus whatever else I do during the day, and then trying to eat a little bit healthier. But in this social statement, it kind of calls on us to have that faithfulness to God, to be thankful for what we've been given, and take advantage of that, and not forsake just because we feel like we want to do.
Yeah, it's more like squandering. Don't squander what you have.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. And in this, it's saying that your health is not something that's guaranteed, or it's not guaranteed that we're going to be without some suffering, or without some pain, or without. But that's also in that is where we come to understand that we have a responsibility to thank God for what we have, and take that pain and suffering to where it needs to be, and really needs to be given back over to God.
Yeah, I don't know where Paul was at when he wrote this first letter to the Thessalonians, but I know he did throughout his life deal with a lot of health struggles. I don't know that we know any specifics, or I don't know any specifics. You may know more. But I know he suffered a lot and prayed about, having that affliction being taken from him.
I mean, and a
But
lot of that was
he continued,
a lot of that was because he
serving.
spent a lot of time in jail.
yeah,
And
a lot of beatings.
They're not the most
A lot of
healthy
beatings.
places in the world.
Yeah,
Especially back then.
right.
And that's kind of where we're called also, is to where do we minister to those who can't do for themselves, who struggle with being able to pay for health care, who are outside that, and part of this biblical sense behind this is that we have a duty to love our neighbor. So if we see someone that's having trouble, then we try to help them as best we can.
Yeah, after that Thessalonians quote, I underlined that health is good for its own sake, but it's also good for living abundantly in relationship with God and in loving service to our neighbor in the vocations to which God has called us. So it kind of is like, to me, sounds like a foundation. You can't, they always tell moms you can't take care of your kids unless you take care of yourself. That's a big thing in the mom world. So it's kind of the same thing. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't have a full relationship, as full of a relationship, I think, with God
Well, that's the thing, you know.
But that shouldn't hinder you if you have like a chronic condition either.
Well, no,
like
and
Paul.
that we get further into the chronicness.
Yeah, that's
you
down
know,
the road a
later
little
down
bit.
the road.
Right. Well, one of the other things you see a lot is people who may have a chronic condition or whatever, where instead of, wallowing in their self-pity and all this other stuff, they use that to be an example of how to deal with it in a positive way, and then they help other people. So they're actually lifting up people who may not be able to help themselves, could be mentally or whatever,
Yeah.
in that situation, where they can use their same situation to, uplift them and give them some.
Yeah,
Assistance.
and that's, my sister-in-law was a perfect example of that. You know, she started out with lung cancer and, for 18 years battled cancer and never complained about it. Never was, and then, towards the end, she kind of hid things from us so that it wasn't our suffering that we were, being a part of, but we were still being with her and knowing her joy, and then all of a sudden it came to the point where she couldn't mask it anymore, and then it just, dropped off the edge. And
Yeah, and I don't want this to come off to seem like if you have a chronic condition that you should feel the need to suppress that pain. I think that also goes into that too. Suppress the issues that you're having and not seek the help or lean on someone else for support. I had a friend who pretty much kept her condition to herself, and she was gone. I mean, within 2 months, and we had no idea.
right.
And the guilt that I feel for not knowing, or it goes both ways. I don't want people to feel like they have to hide.
Right, but I think
But you can still suffer and have joy. Is that
yeah,
if that
yeah.
makes sense?
And
like
I
Paul.
had a similar friend who kept their cancer from the entire family, and then all of a sudden, like you said, she was gone. But like for my sister-in-law, and it was difficult. I think it's difficult for a lot of people that how do you engage somebody? How do you talk to people about it? And fortunately for me, early on in my seminary, one of my first classes was a theology of cancer.
Oh.
And after my first session in that class, I got in the car to drive home, about an hour drive, and I called my sister-in-law and I had that conversation, which is not a conversation that I ever had with her before. And it was so, I don't know if for me freeing, but I think, because some of the things that she told me over the course of, the rest of her life was that part of what she missed was like friendships that ended because people didn't talk and people were afraid of whatever. And, I think, right now, certainly in this time of COVID, a lot of people are afraid
and separate. That was the resounding, they keep repeating our shared endeavor through all of these pages, shared endeavor. And I think even when I was sick, when I had COVID, I wanted to just pull in. I mean, I wasn't very sick and I wasn't sick for very long, but I still felt like I just needed to withdraw from everyone.
Right.
But maybe that's not what I needed or
Well,
should have done. It's a very
there
hard
was
thing for me.
There's a certain thing about, a certain necessity for a type of withdrawal, but not a connection type. So
Yeah.
the physical withdrawal, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, obviously.
We had to do that. But I think, and I've talked to, a couple of pastors and, that are chaplains at assisted living places and stuff like that. And their thing right now is that because of what has happened with COVID, that these folks who had a vibrant livelihood in those, environments are now suffering because they're not. So there's a rapid decline, and that's something that we as a faith community have to figure out. And, you know, as I mentioned, was it last week or the week before in my sermon, that I find it very difficult to minister over the phone. You know, I had a conversation with a parishioner this morning, and it was just, you know, the phone connection was cruddy, and, you know, you don't know what type of physical condition they're in to be able to have that conversation. And it, you know, for me, it was a real struggle. So I'm kind of looking forward to being able to get back in person with people, so that, and I don't know if it's sounding selfish or what, but I just need that personal connection.
Yeah, well, one of the good things is, at least with technology, you can FaceTime, you can use Zoom, you can use Google Meets.
For some, but
Yeah,
think about
not everybody, I know, but at least for some of it, you could actually see the person's face. Where
Right.
It doesn't have to be strictly phone.
Right.
Obviously, none of that is optimal, but
Yeah, and especially for our congregation, where we have a lot of older parishioners that don't do technology well, that's a challenge. And it's a challenge for us to try to figure out, how do we make that work?
well, I have to say though, I've seen a lot of people who I know were technology phobic who have gotten on board because it's one
They
of those
have to.
situations where you don't have a choice.
Right.
Yeah.
And they've gotten comfortable with it, and it's worked pretty well.
Right, but I think I think we need to do more of that.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, and well, I think we've talked about this in media and technology, about getting a resource computer here in the library area, so that we can help people who may not have access or don't know how to use it. You know,
Right.
maybe they relied on the library, the public library before, for their computer use, or you know, just partnering up people who understand technology with those who don't but want to. We can move towards that. But
I think that's how this whole healthcare social statement is. You know, one of the basic cruxes of it is, you know, how do we help those who need help? You know, how do we come alongside people who are struggling? How do we come alongside people who may not have the resources that we have, and how do we make that work?
Well, even the people who do have the resource, I was reading an article yesterday about these doctors are seeing just massive amounts of people with health issues caused by stress and everything, just over the pandemic in general.
Right.
And a lot of it is medical staff too.
Yeah. Sure.
You know, and you think, you know, once this all settled down, how many of them are going to decide that this isn't for them
It's
anymore?
not for me anymore.
And
right.
then
I think
we end
they've
up,
already started losing.
right. So, you know, reaching out to people in, you know, who a lot of those people are really strong, you know, and dedicated, but, you know, they get worn down too. So besides just the people who need, who may not have technology and are sort of isolated, we need to do that too. But also some of them who aren't isolated but are just,
or
you know,
knee deep in it. Yeah.
right.
Yeah. I think we, as a community, did pretty good at supporting our medical professionals at the beginning. I know there were, you know, parades and, you know, past people's houses and shows of support, but I don't know. It's been a year, and they're still, you know, neck deep in it in some areas.
Yeah, one of my friends posted something. His wife works in one of the hospitals in DC, and, you know, it's Nurse Appreciation Week this week.
It
so
is.
appreciate your nurse. Thanks, Mom. But, you know, that the hospital was giving them, you know, like an extra thing at lunch or something. And it was, you know, really, if you think about everything that healthcare workers, first responders, et cetera, have gone through in the last year, you know, we should really be doing a lot more.
Yeah. I don't know.
And I don't know what to do.
I don't know what, but yeah,
Right.
I know they appreciate being fed. I know.
Yeah.
It's also Correctional Officers Week, It's always on the same week. And
Yeah,
Teacher
do we know any of
Appreciation
those
Week, like we
guys?
only appreciate everything, just this first week in May. We just appreciate everybody, and then the rest of the year, we're like, whatever.
Well, it's like next week, next week is Law Enforcement Memorial Week. So,
Right, yeah.
There's a whole lot of stuff going on and a whole lot of people that we really should appreciate. And
It actually does, I think, about page 15 or so, it does talk about supporting healthcare workers. So
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
once
yeah.
we get there. We're
Maybe
only on page
yeah.
3 right now, right?
we're kind of,
Page
spinning
4,
our
can
wheels
we say
here
we're
a
on
bit.
4? I
But-
don't know.
Yeah, so, we talk about this where some people may be in a position that's beyond their control. And that's, I think what you said, Russ, is true in this pandemic era, was that there are so many people that were isolated that didn't have a support mechanism, that's what we're being called to do as the church. Whether it's giving them a phone call, which I, again, struggle with,
But you do it.
I do it,
Yeah.
right.
Anything is better than nothing.
Yeah.
Though.
Right. So, we phone call, or you drive up and stand on somebody's porch and, chat for a few minutes.
You give them a free hot dog.
Give them a
on
free hot
Saturday.
dog. Check. Where are we going on Saturday? A free hot dog and a drink and some chips, I think.
I don't know if that's the best health thing that we should
Probably
be.
not, but
I mean, the water, yeah, good job, but
I don't know. It will make me happy.
it will, yes.
the other day I was saying to myself, boy, I should cook up a couple of hot dogs on the grill just because. And, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
So you had a piece of lettuce.
I did.
So
I
you
did.
had-
I had tuna fish and lettuce. Go figure.
Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, sometimes you feel like a nut.
Yeah, sometimes you feel like a hot dog. Anyway.
But I think that isolation thing, and I had a conversation with another parishioner that was feeling that, they were, kind of alone. And I was able to visit personally with them, and I think just that, whether it's however long it is, that personal connection is really important, and helps to kind of quell that, aloneness.
And I think maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but I'll speak for myself, see if anybody else agrees. But I think I've gotten rusty with those personal interactions because of the past year. I mean,
Yeah.
Not that I was ever too isolated for too long, but not, I don't know, I don't know what's going on with people, because I haven't seen them. I haven't seen them. And then just calling up somebody out of the blue, or
Yeah.
it feels awkward to me. Like, I wonder, what's happening with so-and-so. I haven't seen them in so long, but it feels also weird to just call them up and say, hey, haven't seen you in so long. How's it going?
And for me,
And that's like a rejection or just an awkwardness for me that I'm like,
and for me too, trying to, reach out to people who I've never met yet.
Yeah, I was about to say, and you have even more of a burden because you're like, I was only
Hi, how are
here for like 6 months before the world shut down.
But people expect that from your job.
But I
Yeah.
do it, yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Yeah,
But I think also that's part of what we don't do well either. We don't have those personal conversations. I can sit here all day long and say, hey, we need someone to help us set up over there, or we need someone to do this or do that, instead of me being able to say, hey, can you help us out for a little bit?
right. Yeah, it's that, that's how I got Russ and Amy into teaching Sunday school.
Cornered us, but she
Had
asked
I
the right
just-
person.
Had I just made a general announcement, which I'm sure I did, I didn't get any responses, but I kind of cornered them, and they're like, yeah, let's do this.
Well, one of us said yeah, the
One
other
of
one
you
stood
said
there and
yeah,
said
like-
okay. Well, that's one of the things. If you have a partner who happens to be good at that, who I do, she's really good about talking to everybody and remembering stuff about them and everything. And I'm like, I know who that is.
Right,
Who is that?
Who is
Okay.
right, right.
Then
right.
it comes back.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we got sidetracked. Are we on illness and healing?
Well, that's what I was talking about, illness a little bit, with especially the isolation, part of it.
And feeling desperate, feeling like they've been
Yeah.
got off and shut
Right.
off and
Right.
Well, the
and
thing is, if
cast
you
out.
feel like that, you got to reach out.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
You know?
and that's part of what I posted this morning on my Facebook was, the numerous things where hotlines that you can call if you are feeling that, or you can call this hotline. I'll answer my phone 24 hours a day, mostly.
I've never had you send me to voicemail yet. I don't know what your voicemail sounds like.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Hi, leave your phone number.
Hi, it's me.
Hi. But
a message.
that's the thing. We can't be afraid
Yeah.
to reach out. And I know there have been times where, I've been sick or whatever, and I just leave me alone. I'm going to sit in my chair. Don't bother me.
Yeah.
But I know for other people it's important to have support, and I think really that's one of the other main facets of this whole social statement is that there is support for you, and we're here to give it to you.
Yeah, I think that the church, the community itself makes it easier to reach out. If somebody's coming home from the hospital and you want to take them dinner or something, but there's a group at the church that's organizing that. It's easier for me to participate in that
Then just do it
as
yourself.
a community than just do it myself.
And
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and really that's I think our goal is to be community serving community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now what? Healing?
Healing. So healing, as I mentioned earlier, healing is when we have our right relationship with God, and God hears our prayers. God understands what we're going through, and Jesus does, because he certainly suffered more than any of us will ever do. And when we lift that up and talk to Jesus, talk to God, talk to the Spirit, that allows us to understand, if we've sinned. And we sin every day, and how do we bring healing? We bring healing by having our connection with God. And that's really the...
Right, and it also gets into the difference between, your physical healing and your spiritual healing. So you really need to focus on the whole package.
Yep.
If you just focus on your spiritual healing and not your health, your physical, you're going to end up in trouble as well as doing the opposite.
The opposite, yeah.
Yeah, and part of that healing also relies on what opportunities or what, trying to think of the right word here, you have available to you to make that happen. So we have
Resources.
medicine, you
Yeah.
have, you have doctors, you have nurses, you have therapists, et cetera. So if you are, feeling that need, then you should have that conversation with whatever or whoever, is going to, kind of guide you along that path.
Yeah, I don't think I realized how encompassing this social statement was going to be with,
Community.
body, mind, spirit, and then what we need to do personally, what we need to do as a church community, as a wider community in the nation and in the world. It's just, I can see why it's 32 pages and we're only on page 4.
Right. Yeah.
All right, that's what I thought. That should be easy. And then
That
you start
should
looking
be
at
That's
it.
what
and
you
you're
said. You said, "Oh, we'll get
blow
through
right
this in
through
a
that
day."
one.
Be
Oops.
easy.
And honestly, I've read it 3 or 4 times, through, and there's still, stuff that it's really reliant on the relationships that we have.
And it's super complicated in the grand scheme and super simple in the sort of localized area.
Right.
I
I mean, you certainly, aren't going to be able to fix everything, and that's a given.
And
But
that's one of the things that goes into in this statement. Overall, it says, this needs to be fixed, but we don't have the answer.
Right.
It's a combination of lots
Yeah.
of different smaller things, and
Yep.
you know.
I don't know
So,
where we want to go from here. It is 12:38 already.
yeah, I
so
just want
didn't
to, I just want to finish
wanna
up with
wrap up.
the one statement at the end of page 5 where it
Okay.
says, in and through the church, the Holy Spirit works to heal through ministry of word and sacrament, intercessions and liturgies for healing, prayer and the laying on of hands, anointing with oil, pastoral care, servant ministries, and the mutual consolation of Christian siblings and the congregational and church-related health ministries that reach out to all people. So I think,
It's a really long sentence that kind of lost me halfway, to be honest.
yeah, so really what it's
Everything.
what it's saying is
everything.
everything in church is there to contribute to the health of the community, and you know there are multifaceted ways to find healing. You know, so we find healing in hearing the word. We find healing in partaking of the body and blood of Christ, and we also find healing in the different ministries that are here that reach out and talk to you.
But that's not the only part, so we'll talk about that
Correct.
next
week.
week.
All righty.
So we're going to pick up, just so that you know, because there seems to be a little confusion in the comments. We are working on the social statement called Caring for Health, our shared endeavor, and we are picking up on page 6 or so
Right.
next week with healthcare.
Yep.
That's
See
We're
you
going to
soon.
solve it all next
We're gonna-
week.
Yeah,
Probably not.
probably
Or
not.
at least finish the social statement so you know where the church stands.
Yeah. And